Hello guys, and welcome back to another cold episode. On today's episode, I have done the unthinkable, and I have made what I believe to be the worst summoning mechanic, and I made a deck using pendulums. So I'm going to be going through this deck. We're going to do some replays, but at the end, I wanted to quickly discuss why I don't like pendulums. I'm going to go over some points as to why I think the mechanic failed, and more so just explain pendulums. So let's quickly do the card by card for this list. This is just kind of taken from a few other people. It's 42 cards. The deck's pretty consistent overall, though. I am not the best at it. I would definitely suggest watching other people if you want to get good at the game or good at Pendulum. But yeah, I wanted to play it to see what it was like, and to see if I was hating unreasonably. And yeah, we'll discuss that later. First of all, we're playing only one hand trap, that is Ash Blossom and Joyous Spring. The reason we're not playing Max C is due to the fact that we realistically can search basically everything in our deck. Like, there are a million ways to basically every card in there. So we don't really need to draw more cards. But more importantly, we don't play hand traps. We just can't afford to play hand traps because we have to max out on the number of pendulums that we have. So of course we're not really playing that many. So Ash Blossom is like our only option. As for the pendulums, we have one Time Gazer, we have one Stargazer, we have triple Summon or Pendulum Sorcerer, we have triple Wisdom Eye Magician. I'm not going to go over their effects because honestly it would take too long. We have one Luster Pendulum, the Draco Slayer. This card is really good because you summon it off of the blasting. The Ignister Prominence, oh my gosh, I couldn't remember its name, and its Pendulum effect is really nice. We have Skullcrobat Joker, probably the best normal summon in the deck. We have triple Harmonizing Magician, double Iris Magician, because it's for some reason still limited to 2. I really don't know why, but sure. We have triple Black Fang, we have triple Purple Poison. This card is absolutely crazy if you're able to set it with a Time Pendulum Graph, which is really nice. We have one Celestial Magician, which can, for some reason, just turn off your opponent's monster effects. Don't know why that's the case, but sure. One Stargazer, one Odd Eyes Butler. This is basically only used to go into the Odd Eyes Vortex Dragon, so that's why it's there. We have a triple Oath Dragon Magician as a nice low scale that can also add back cards if we need to. We have the one Chronograph and the one Astrograph, both of which probably deserve to, well, this one definitely deserves to be banned. And then the one Odd Eyes Dissolver. This card basically is a fusion summon for any of these cards. Then, for the actual spells, we have one Instant Fusion, triple Duelist Alliance, one Star Pendulum Graph, double Called by the Grave, and one Time Pendulum Graph. For our only trap, I should say. As for the extra deck, we have one Independent Nightingale, one Odd Eyes Vortex Dragon, triple Supreme King Starving Venom Dragon, which... Oh, sorry, Starving Venom. This card is absolutely busted and deserves to be banned. It copies a card effect in either graveyard or on either side of the field, which is absolutely OP. Yeah, so that's why we're running 3 of it. It also only requires 2 Dark Pendulum monsters, which is not that difficult. On top of that, you can copy this guy's effect and then burn your opponent for well over lethal. This is why we are playing the Instant Fusion in order to go for the Predaplant into the Nightingale, into 2 of these guys, into FTK. That is legitimately what the plan is with this. You make 2 of these, you summon this with Verte, or just hard draw the Instant Fusion, and then you FTK your opponent. It's a little bit more difficult. I never actually ended up doing it because I didn't look up a combo or anything like that. So there's that. We have Ignister Prominence. This card is absolutely crazy. It's a non-target shuffle into the deck, as well as being able to special summon out a target with the Luster Pendulum, which is nice. We have one Baron. We have one Time Star Magician. We have one Baguska. We have one Hope Harbinger. We have Electromite, Verte, Beyond the Pendulum, Selene, and Apollosa. We do not need access code. We just don't really need it. We have a lot of ways to just get a lot of monsters onto our side of the field, and this guy can deal piercing, which means that we can oftentimes just walk over what we need to. Yeah, we also have like Time Pendulum Graph to deal with problematic cards, so there's that. Yeah, that's it for the list. Let me show you some replays, and we'll hop into those. Alright, so here we are going first, and we drew the best normal summon. So we're going to start off with the Skullcrobat Joker in order to search out our Double Iris, since we don't already have it. We're going to scale up the Double Iris, and then we are going to search out our Performing Pal Sorcerer. We are then going to pen summon for 1-2. We're going to keep the Oath Dragon in hand just as an additional resource. And then we're going to pop both of those as well as special summon from deck, the Celestial. We're going to search out the fusion as well as the fusion target, and then we are going to also search out the time pendulum graph. We're then going to Xyz into Electromite, a fair and balanced Yu-Gi-Oh card, which will then scale up the Astrograph, send the Astrograph to the face of extra deck. For the future. Then we are going to fusion summon into Vortex Dragon. We are then going to activate the second effect of Electromite in order to add back the Astrograph, which will then draw us a card as well as special summon out the Astrograph and search out a double Iris. We will then also draw into Chronograph Sorcerer, which is very funny. We're then going to activate the or go into our Starving Venom, which will then copy the effect of Electromite because it's fair and balanced. And then we will also be able to use the second effect once again with the Electromite in order to go for another Astrograph using the double Iris to search another card, special summon out the Astrograph, search out the Oath Dragon, search out the Star Pendulum Graph, scale up the Oath Dragon, activate the effect, which I didn't realize needed to specifically pop an Odd Eyes, so I'm just going to negate that. It's fine. I was just shuffling a card back. It's fine. We're then going to activate the Star Pendulum Graph, and then we are going to go for a Chronograph Sorcerer in order to special summon out the Time Gazer. Then we'll link everything else away in order to go into Apollosa with 3 materials, search out the Purple Poison, scale out the Purple Poison, and set the Time Pendulum Graph. Also adding back in the, using the Oath Dragon to add back the double Iris. So we're basically on Apollosa, in Omni Negate, and a Pop 2. Not crazy, but it's decent. And then we also have a way to copy an effect, which is pretty nice, and follow up in hand. So, pretty good thus far. My opponent's going to start with Hedahara. I will promptly negate that. My opponent will then activate their Vishada, which I will also promptly negate. No Tenyis for you. They're going to normal summon their Moye, to which I will destroy it. I'm going to pop my own Oath Dragon in order to just get it into the deck, because we already have the second Oath Dragon, so no real point not doing that. They're going to negate our Star Pendulum Graph, which I let go, and then proceed to the end step. We draw a Black Fang, which doesn't really matter. We're going to scale up. We're going to Pen Summon 2, and I'm going to activate in order to add back the Odd Eyes, and then just attack in for lethal. Yeah, good game. Alright, so let's see one where I go second. So I drew, of course, a hand of all pendulums, which we actually happened to draw both of the Odd Eyes cards, which is kind of funny. But my opponent is playing Zodiac, so they're going to go and do their Zodiac things, ending on Trident Pass. You'll love to see it. However, they're going to set to 2 cards and then pass. Cool. Interesting. I'm going to draw for turn. We draw a second Wisdom Eye, which is kind of funny. My opponent is then going to go and activate Non-Fusion Area. Okay, well, I guess this card's now useless. They're going to then pop the Wisdom Eye Magician, which is funny because I happen to draw the second one. So we're going to go for the Wisdom Eye Magician in order to go for our double Iris, which will then allow us to go and pend 3. So we're going to pend 3 and then get promptly negated by the Harmonizing Magician, which will then allow us to go for Ignister Prominence. Now, I actually do this incorrectly because for some reason, instead of summoning first, I decide to pop first, or shuffle back first, which is going to bite me in the butt because my opponent's going to activate Revolt. Well, there goes my Ignister, I guess. Not really anything I can do about that. Sure. But I do get a search here, so there's maybe something that we can do here. I get to add the Time Pendulum Graph, so we can do like pendulum. What? I'm sorry. What? You banished? You banished Purple Magician. Okay, so I'm going to then special summon out my my Ignister card, and then go into Electromite. Thank you for allowing me to do this. We're going to go Electromite, dump the Astrograph, and then go for the Astrograph. Special summoning the Astrograph, drawing a card out in the process, and then we get to add the double Iris. I draw into Ash, which is very funny. We're going to normal summon out our monster in order to go for the Supreme King. Supreme King will then pop the Electromite in order to add back the Astrograph, which will then go for the Astrograph, which will then just put another body onto our field, which will also allow us to grab up a Wisdom Eye Magician. We're then going to set the Time Pendulum Graph and pass the turn. It is basically only one interaction, but we also have Ash Blossom, so I'm like, okay, they have 2 cards in hand. This card's literally not doing anything, so I think I just win here. They go to battle. We pop their Tri-Brigade. By popping our Wisdom Eye, they realize that the game is over because they don't have anything and concede. That was really weird, but also I'm sure I could have done more with that hand. Alright, we're back with the deck, and in all honesty, I've never liked pendulums. I'm sure that you saw in the title and the thumbnail that I have never liked pendulums, and honestly, yeah, the main reason is because pendulums as a mechanic just don't fit Yu-Gi-Oh! Like Link monsters mostly work. Synchro monsters, Xyz, they all seem like something that would come out of Yu-Gi-Oh! This seems more like something from Card Fight Vanguard or Pokemon. right? Something that activates in the bench while also having something on the field, right? Very Pokemon-esque, right? Very much so a Pokemon card. This, however, just doesn't quite work for me. And I think the major issue that we decided on stream, if you want to check that out, you can check out the stream where I play Pendulum, go to the end where we talk about this in more depth. But the major issue that we've come to, or the major conclusion that we've come to, is that Pendulums are inherently bad because of Pendulums. If you take away the Pendulum summoning mechanic, the face-up extra deck, the Pendulum summoning, the scales, stuff like that, I think the mechanic's fine. It's honestly pretty cool. Having something that's a spell as well as a monster, sure, that's fine. But having something that is a spell and a monster and a pendulum effect and a extra deck monster and also doesn't get sent to the graveyard but goes to the face-up extra deck and is also sometimes also an extra deck monster already on top of being a pendulum, which makes it a spell but that's in the extra deck, is really just kind of absurd and really doesn't help Yu-Gi-Oh! From being the most complicated and absurd game ever. And I think that is the major issue that I have with Pendulums. I think there are so many cool things that they could do with Pendulums that they just didn't. And the fact that, like, they made this summoning mechanic and it's either absolutely broken or dog shit really boggles my mind. You cannot have a soul charge like effect where you basically just get to soul charge or summon out a whole bunch of monsters for free every turn and not have it either be broken or heavily restricted, making it useless, which is exactly what Pendulums have become. The actual Pendulum summoning mechanic is either summon out 4 guys and go into incredible link monsters, gaining massive advantage, or like not used at all, aka Draco Slayer. Draco Slayer like just doesn't pendulum summon. If you don't know what Draco Slayer is, it's the newly supported archetype. It's been around for a while, but it's the newly supported archetype in the TCG. That's like the only pen deck that actually plays in the TCG. And they don't have Electromite, and they're still good because like they just actually have good cards, and they don't even really pendulum summon. They do pendulum summon, but not really. That's not their focus. They just utilize the actual pendulum effects or the spell effects to great advantage, which is great. I love that. That's a cool mechanic, and I love Draco Slayers. They're a really awesome archetype. They do abuse this guy, which doesn't have a hard once per turn, which is a bit silly, I will say, but that is a major problem with just modern, or just Yu-Gi-Oh! In general. Older cards just don't have hard ones per turns, which tends to be a problem in modern Yu-Gi-Oh! So a lot of them get errata or banned or stuff like that. AKA Ancient Fairy Dragon, which just got an errata. But Pendulums inherently, being a spell and a monster is fine. The problem is the face-up extra deck and all of that silly stuff. So yeah, did my opinion change on Pendulums? And do I think that they're cool? No, I'm sorry. To anyone who likes Pendulums, I don't hate you. I'm not saying that Pendulums are, you know, because you like Pendulums, you're stupid, or like that you don't have a brain or what have you. But sometimes you don't, let's be honest with ourselves. What I'm saying is that Pendulums as a mechanic just don't work for Yu-Gi-Oh! Like, Konami hasn't made good Pendulum cards in, like, ages. Most recently, the more recent Pendulum cards have been decent, but they also make, like, just really weird cards sometimes. And, I don't know. Pendulums were a mistake. That's all I'm trying to say. Anyway, thank you guys so much for watching. I hope that you guys did indeed enjoy it. If you did, I like it's very much so appreciated. And if you want to check out more content like this, as well as more Yu-Gi-Oh!, then just be sure to subscribe. Anyway, thank you guys so much for watching. And remember to always stay frosty. Bye-bye. Shout out to the Frost Guard, my members. Thank you guys so much for the support, and I hope you enjoy the content.